Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson, and welcome to Town Talk. I have my guests with me today, our Father Russ Carmichael and Dominic Cotton. As most of you who might have caught the show but may not know, I am the mother of a brain injury survivor, Robert Johnson, and an advocate for brain injury. And I have with me another advocate for brain injury and what we call an independent living skills trainer. I also have Dominic Cotton, an independent living skills trainer, another advocate for brain injury and support those who have a brain injury. I want to mention something today on the show that the name of this show is Town Talk, but I also want to give some information about Father Russ Carmichael. He has a sister show to me called Street Talk, and he has Dominic Cotton as a co-host with him, and I believe, Father, you have another co-host, Bonnie
Sadowski. Yeah,
okay.
Bonnie's also my co-hostess. She's been with me for years. Yeah.
Thank you. Now I mentioned this now because we're going to do a lot of shows on brain injury. We have our veterans now that come home with brain injuries. We have Gabby Gifford, who, yes, she advocates for gun control, but she also has a brain injury, no matter how you acquire it. There are so many around us that are brain injury survivors, and I think this issue is very important. And today I have what I would consider two experts who have worked very hard through the years to protect and help people like my son and others that have loved ones that have had brain injury. So I will turn the show now over to Russ Carmichael and Dominic, and I will give you an opening. I think that one thing that is foremost in my mind is that there is a committee in Hartford that was formed, that I attended their third meeting, I believe last week. And I felt, sitting there as the mother of a survivor, that committee was not moving forward in the manner that we had imagined it would. So I would ask both of you to fill our TV audience in on what this is all about, how it started, and where we go from here. Father?
Well, you put the heat right on me, right?
I did. I did.
You know, and your show is wonderful, Town Talk. We're going to play Town Talk up in on our network up there, and it's so good, Kathy, to see that you're doing this, that you're informing your public up here and these shows. Initially they're hard when they start out, but it's a medium that I think is public access is important, very important, and it gets out messages and people who are concerned with our kind of issues. Okay, and yes, I'm an independent living skills trainer. I have a house. I have a resident facility where I take care of individuals. But I'm also, and I've been an advocate now for 40 some odd years in the disability, starting with the American Disabilities Act, both for dual diagnosis people and stuff like that. And it's because my involvement is exactly like yours, due to family who had problems and friends and stuff like that. My own son is a veteran with a brain injury that's in the hospital, and I don't usually talk about that because I just don't talk. You know, because we advocate for all people. Okay, and it is partially personal, the stuff that we've done, and we care about all people who have no voice. And you know, as Dominic knows, and as my co-host on Street Talk, it's so good to be with him on your show. Yeah, he also independent living skills trainer like myself, cares for people, knows.
I actually trained the man.
And he actually, yes, years ago when I came, he was my living skills trainer. Yeah, when I come on as a companion years ago. So he did, that was when they did it live,
They
right?
used to do live
You
trainings,
do live
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we are. And how we got here, Dominic, I think you will need to talk. That's about our legislative walk, and you probably could sum it up better than I, because.
Well, I think, I mean, experience. Obviously, you've had a son that's been on this program. I know probably for years there's been an issue where we haven't really felt the level of support from the Department of Social Services for the people that are our loved ones and the people that
Yes.
we work with.
Yes.
And you usually have an annual meeting where you discuss the person's program, and it's kind of like what I call like up for review, and everybody got left with a feeling like the only thing they cared about was cutting down the amount of services or hours that somebody needs, not what their needs are, or
Yes.
they wanted all justify it, and what are you doing, and all, instead of looking at it from the standpoint of how can we enhance this person. It's always how can we pull things back or bring them less around, and sometimes when somebody like your son maybe in the early stages of things, or when somebody's in the early stages after they've had their brain injury, they might need more services as
Yes.
things go along, to be able to teach them those things as they make gains and they're able to do more, and their world kind of expands. So I think for years our whole community has kind of felt under the gun.
Yes.
Always like you have to be thankful for what you have, and please
Don't take it away.
Please don't DSS work, or
please
please don't take it away.
Don't take away what we have for our own.
and living in
Right,
fear.
Right.
Dominic, you hit that right on the head as a mother of a person that went through this. I used to view entitlements as something that people just get and it just falls right off the table for them. I never knew how hard it was to fight, literally fight your heart out when your heart is breaking and your loved one is still in a coma.
Hurting.
You're hurting and you can't even think you're in pain, and you're already fighting for his or her life. And to realize that it is going to be a fight till the day you die, and you hope somebody else, like people like you and Father, will pick up the torch and help. And this is why this is so important. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you you certainly hit the heart and the soul and the complete feeling that no one else can have unless it's happened to them, or they've had to face this kind of thing with a loved one. And that's why we're always, and I'm always trying to make our legislators see that you haven't lived this. We're living it. And the least you can do is understand that these are individuals, not just widgets or a process. And you please go on, because you have a lot of information on the numbers, the figures, and where we're going with this. And I feel personally, having been to the last committee meeting, and you can explain the committee, that committee is at a standstill. It's just a feel-good committee from my point of view as a mother of a brain injury survivor.
Well, I think it's because our community has that level of passion, and because they have that level of interconnectedness. That once, I don't know, Department of Social Services kind of pushed us over the edge, it was just like, okay, we don't have any more fear. You know what?
No more fear.
We're not going to be scared that they're going to take something away or do these other things along those lines. And I think all those 10 years, because when this program was started, it was started by somebody who truly understood brain injury. They worked with the parents, they worked with the providers,
Right.
and they really, understood it. And then that person was gone, you had somebody new in that didn't have that level if you want to call it enthusiasm, that they
Right.
weren't invested in the same way that the
No.
person who started the program. And so for 10 years, you have a program where it functioned well on its own.
One of the best programs around.
And everybody
Yes.
loved the program, loved
Exactly.
what was going on within it. We were kind of happy in some ways, as long as you leave us alone in our little corner over here,
Right.
and we'll deal with the year over year. But once they kind of pushed it over the edge and they wanted to make massive changes to it, they wanted to do away with positions that we do, which is independent living skills
Right.
training. They wanted to have just neuropsychologists with a middle management level, like in between, like of social workers who were supposed to come in, if your child was living with you, into your home and tell you
What to do.
what to do.
What to do and
Right.
how to do it. No direct
And-
service. They weren't cutting
Right.
direct service, though. Real direct, hands-on direct service.
And so, because of that, everybody came together, and we, like I said, literally, it's been years of pent-up energy,
Yes.
and we found out about this in a backwards sort of way,
By accident. That's
by
right.
completely accident.
Yes.
No real notification.
Right.
And they're still doing it. They're still
Yes.
not notifying people to changes and stuff like that, that has to change. This is a client. This is a person-centered program. That means the person, the individual hurting, and their family have to be directly notified before they go around and change this program.
Absolutely.
They still haven't got that yet.
They
That's
don't-
the
that's
problem
right.
out there. That is the real problem that all that you legislators need to know about. And not only that, doctors need to understand. It's not the this has changed across the country. Person-centered. They are the key to this. Not the
Absolutely.
social worker.
Right.
Not even us, not even me,
No.
not
The
even
person.
it's the person and their family that are the people who are really in charge and need the power to deal with this. I'm
Well,
sorry. Go ahead.
no, don't be. Dominic, I want to say, I want to pick up on something you said about not being afraid anymore. As a mother of a survivor, you're always afraid they're going to take their program away. They're going to. Well, the stick was poked in the bear's eye one too many times, and
Yep.
now the bear has risen, and maybe we're fighting a losing battle because we're fighting what you call City Hall, but I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid if they think that I'm not a nice lady, that I don't have any degree of decorum. As I've said before, I will show all of our legislators a degree of decorum when I see a degree of caring, and not caring about how they're going to survive politically or any of those things. I realize we all have to survive, but I'm going to remind them every day of their lives that there are human beings behind everything they do. And that's where I'm coming from. But please continue, Dominic. I'm sorry.
That's all right. In order to get everybody to kind of understand like what person-centered planning is, I
Yes, do that, yeah.
I kind of look at it. It's kind of like a flower. You got the person that's at the center, and you have all the little petals that kind of go around that person. So you got family members, you got service providers, you got friends, you got
Just like a big
coworkers.
sunflower.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so, and the person, is at the center of it, and we're all here to support that person, and to help that flower blossom. And when that flower blossoms, it blossoms, with the colors of everybody around it. And that's the beauty of person-centered planning is, when that person gets to the place that they want to be. Take for example your son.
Yes, Robert. Yes.
Your son is a fantastic artist.
Unbelievable.
He's into music. He's into other things. To pigeonhole him into a job as a dishwasher is not fulfilling what's going to work for him. Because when you tie in with somebody's motivation and what they want to do, and help be able to support that and bring those things out, then that person's going to blossom. They're going to learn,
right.
and they're going to develop,
Right.
and that's what helps them to be able not only to improve their situation like cognitively, but to improve their own feeling of self-worth and where they want to be and where they see themselves. And
Exactly.
these are the most important parts of what this program's supposed to be
Well,
about.
I always wanted my son to be able to elevate to the best that his ability could make him. And that's for everyone, to be able to reach your own personal best or the highest you can go, where you can come around. I think everyone wants.
And that's the difference between people with brain injury and people with other disabilities. When you have a disability that you're born with, or you've had for say in your teenage years, like on with some mental health or with some developmentally disabled, you've learned to essentially, this is your reality. This is what you've learned. You've learned or you've dealt with. When you have somebody who has a brain injury, they were going along like you or me
And then,
in life, and then boom, they had that one event.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, everything's completely
Everything's
different.
changed. Right.
And so it's not
Their
like
reality
it's
has
something
changed.
where they've grown
Lived
up
with
with
it,
it,
grown
they
up
live
with
with
it, or anything else.
It's that their
This is
lives
a-
have changed.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a total change. Okay, and then having to relearn a new life.
Yep.
Okay, with the memory most of the old life.
Yep.
That the individual would think they're capable of doing what they used to do, no longer able to do that. And sometimes dealing with communications, walking, structural, no matter what it is. This is a new world.
This
is not something
for that
you
person.
for
Yes.
that person. This is not
Well, not
something
just
you
for
grew
that
up.
person, but for everybody around.
Well, I was just going to say
For
this
the
changes
families.
the whole dynamic
Well,
of everyone
you
connected with.
Well,
it. Right.
for me as a mother, I
Yeah.
can tell you that I lost my innocence of life. Life for me will never be the same, or for my husband, or for the whole family. It's a dynamic that goes right through the family.
Yeah.
And when you're bleeding the most, that's when you have to fight the most. And honestly, it reminds me of the Dickens story where the ghost of Christmas Present shows them under his robe ignorance and want. And he said, oh, yes, I'll hide them. Those are the people you don't see. Well, you go through your merry way of life. All of us do. As long as we don't see them, they're not there. But I'm going to remind them every day of my life that people like my son, and not just that disability, all disabilities and all forms, mental illness, they're there, and they could be you in a nanosecond.
And people need to be reminded, as you said, the word entitlement is sounds like you're giving stuff away.
Yeah.
These people are okay. Not the reality of you're dealing with a serious need. Okay, I don't like the word entitlement.
I don't either.
Okay, and it's a problem that we have in our whole social structure. And the real problem is money. Money is the dominant factor over person.
Of course, always.
We know the reality of money, and we have to deal with that. But it has someplace along the line, the person's caring, the person has to come above the financial
At some point. Now I want to say this. I want to move back to where we started from a little bit. Where we are now, I am, as people know, I'm going to run for first selectman in Oxford again in 2015. So I have a political background. I'm an advocate, and I'm also a politician, which is a very hard balancing act to do. I understand the problem the politicians have, but I'm getting very irritated and discouraged. I would like you to explain what this committee is about, Dominic, why it was formed, and explain to our viewing audience why I, as a mother, am so frustrated with how this is, what direction this is going in. As far as I'm concerned, it looks like politics as usual.
Well, I think the part that we took within this was that obviously we all came together.
Yes.
We said, absolutely not to the changes that they wanted to make. And then after that, they kind of went on what I call radio silence, because I think they were so taken aback that they thought that this was going to be business as usual. Oh, we make these suggestions, we make these
Right.
changes, maybe change a little bit of these things over here. But everybody came together, and as a group, we shut down the governor's phones
Yes, we did.
Twice.
twice.
Thank you very much.
As a group, we had to educate ourselves as to how to get in touch with our politicians and get them on point with this, which is one of the things that we did. And then the first time through, we got my legislators down in my area. She went in. She happened to be the chair of Human Services, and went to Bremby and said, this isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. And I think it was about the same time you actually got in to see Marco Jakian
Yes.
up in Governor Malloy's office.
Yes, I did, and it wasn't easy.
No.
Even though I supported Governor Malloy, and I'm a loyal Democrat all my life, except for one little glitch when I got mad and became an independent for a few weeks. But other than that, and I did campaign for Governor Malloy in Oxford. I went door to door, and I went on the hub dialer for him. And I'm looking to him for his leadership on this issue.
Yeah, we stayed with them.
We stayed with him.
We've stayed with them.
We
did a
stayed
lot
with
of
him,
work.
even though I hit him hard.
Yeah.
But he came back, and they what they came back with was, okay, we're not going to change your program, thinking that everybody feels comfortable with this as
And
a
you'll all
community,
go away.
and you'll
Bye.
I won't have to deal with
Anymore.
all this stuff anymore.
Right.
But the reality is that we
We
all
didn't let
understand.
that happen. Yes.
We've been through this. We've seen what happens, and you know what? We want to make sure that people, and like I said, this can happen to anybody who come, afterwards, get the same level of services that the people and our loved ones have enjoyed, seen get better, and seen their lives improve, because the program, the way it was written, was great.
Right, and may I, you gave me a segue into something that's been on my mind. In the beginning, yes, I was told, don't worry, your son's program is intact, he's fine. And my comment was, you mean because he was able to be lucky enough in 1998 to be accepted into the Waiver 1 program, he eats filet mignon, and now I'm not supposed to worry about all the other people coming along now who are going to have oatmeal? What kind of person would I be if all I cared about was just my son? Listen, if I've got a mouth and God gave me the communication skills to use that mouth, I'm going to use it for everyone. And this is where they didn't get it from us. They figured that would shut us all up. Take it away, Dominic.
Or they gave you the other half of that, which was what they said was, your program's going to be the same, but we're going to, the people that are going to come in after you, they're going to get they're going to get instead of they can have up to 200% of what their alternative cost of care. They started out with you. They said 125, and everybody walked out the door, and they were kind of like, and they said, "Oh, this had to do with Obamacare." And we're all leaving scratching
for
our heads.
our audience, explain 125.
Essentially, what it means is that as a group, all right, there's individuals, and then there are people that are in the whole community together underneath this program. As individuals, you can have up to 200% of your alternative cost of care. And the people that we get concerned about are the ones that are in nursing homes. And a nursing home costs, say, $70,000 a year to be in. It's congregate. There are other people there. You're not getting one-to-one services. If they come out into the community and say they can't live with their family member and they need to be in a program where they have that one-to-one service, because on the overnights, they might not be able to get themselves out of a bed, or they might not
Yeah,
realize
they
that a
need
fire alarm's
services,
going on,
right.
or it puts them at
At
danger.
risk. Yeah,
So
puts them at risk.
those people who are at the low end, because to provide somebody 24-hour services,
It's expensive.
yeah, it is. It's somewhere, the smallest, plans are usually like around 120,000. So you have people at the low end who can go up to two times what it would cost to be in a nursing home.
Inside.
Right,
Inside.
So
Right.
they would get double the money.
right.
Okay, fine.
Versus somebody who's at the higher end, who's like at a hospital-like level, where it costs some
380 grand,
yeah,
400 grand.
and their plans aren't, are probably about half that.
Right.
So what they do is they say, okay, let's throw everybody in together, and all their plans match together need to cost less than 100% of what everybody would be if they were in an
What's that, Father?
institution.
In other words, okay, so if it costs, this gets confusing, okay? So if it costs everybody, if everybody cost, let's just say, I'm throwing out say it was $1 million cost for the state, okay, the maximum, the way that this is thrown together, it is less than. It won't make it will not make that amount of money, okay? It'll be less than what they're spending now, and it has to be, and that's how they get a savings. It's all about saving. Again, it gets complicated with numbers for most
does.
of our people. Okay, the fact of the matter is, okay, that what our people, everybody has to understand out there, it is far cheaper, far less expensive to have your son, my son, other family members, okay, taken care of in their homes or in a facility that is like mine, okay, than it is to have them in hospitals.
Right.
It is much more better for the individual to have them in this type of thing than stuck away in a closet in a nursing home. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it.
Right,
Okay?
under Father Christmas's robes,
Yeah,
Hidden.
but it is less expensive, and of course, with the state, we have we get a return ratio from the federal government. Our particular program saves
Well, you get 50%
50%
reimbursement.
reimbursement from
So-
the Fed.
so
it saves money,
right,
the government.
okay. And this is hard for me to even make clear in my mind, even though I'm working with you. Now, you started out with the 125.
Right.
So
And
now, what happened after that?
they came out and said, well, this is part of like Obamacare, and they gave up a whole
Oh,
bunch
yes,
of
I remember. We
a
got
whole
that
a whole
excuse,
bunch
yes.
of different excuses.
When I was up in the chief
So-
of staff's office.
Yes, so we went and looked up, and we went on, the Centers for Medicaid Services, which oversees all this from the federal government, and they said no.
Au contraire.
You could do anything you want as long as everybody as a group together
You're right.
costs less to be in the
Less than
community
you're right.
than they do to be in an institution.
Right.
So
exactly.
the fact that they were coming up and throwing out this number was absolutely incorrect.
Yeah, they were
Duped
wrong.
again.
That was my nice word to say.
All right,
I
duped
know
again.
we're on camera.
We're on camera. All right, I'll be nice. Okay, so then where does it go from here now, Father and
Well, I mean, essentially,
Dominic?
we started meeting with lawmakers, and we came back, and we basically told them that no, 125 is not good enough. And so they came back and they rewrote it again,
Made an adjustment. Right.
and they went to 150, which is still below what we considered the minimum level
That they should be at.
that they should be at. So we had forms up at the legislative office building, which we filled the capacity. We had an overflow room
Right.
up there.
Yeah.
We created as much awareness as
Political
we possibly
awareness,
could do.
education, right?
And then when I know for myself, and you and I had this discussion, I felt like, well, we're not really getting anything back from the governor's office. So all of a sudden I see he's having these town hall meetings.
Right.
So I'm like, Well, you know what?
We all trotted off to the town hall meeting, I know.
So we went down to Norwalk, to his first town hall meeting, and I know I went first, and I got up and I said, look, I said we've been trying to work with you guys, and to develop this program, and to make sure people are getting served, and every time that we reach out to Department of Social Services, they ignore us.
Yeah, they slam us.
And I'm like, and he starts going into, okay, are you talking about this program? I'm like, no, Governor, that's not the program we're talking about. I mean, we put him on the spot. I made him
Sure.
look silly at that first one because he didn't
Well, I've been an elected
know.
official in a small town. You get put on the spot. If it's too hot in the kitchen, get out, as they say.
And then you followed, and Father Russ floated in the room here.
Oh, I remember that day. Oh, my gosh. I was up speaking, and I said, well, if you don't understand the program, you can ask Father Carmichael. And I didn't know he was walking in the door.
Walking in the door, and I was floating in the room. But that was the meeting where the governor throwed it over.
Well,
Pass the
actually,
football. Was that?
Nancy grabbed the football. It wasn't
Nancy
that
Wyman.
not that he threw the football after her. She said, Governor, I got this.
I got this. Yeah, right.
And she's tried. She
did.
promised us
Well,
we wouldn't throw people under a bus for a buck.
Well, I happen to have a lot of belief in Nancy. I really do. I really like her. I know she's been on the issue for years and everything.
Right.
Okay. With that, we ended up getting the meeting. Well, obviously, we went to the meeting with her. Okay.
Yes.
And then from there, she brought in Commissioner Bremby.
Right.
Okay. And out of that meeting, then
I
we
was at
went.
that meeting.
You were at
You
that
were- you were
meeting.
at that
We're
meeting.
all
Yeah.
together here. We
Yeah.
had the group all together.
Right.
Okay, and then we went from that meeting. Bremby put together.
Well, essentially, he said at that meeting the way, because we presented all the facts.
We
that
presented
had,
all the
and he
facts,
said
right.
the way that you presented this to me,
Is
I couldn't support these changes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And you were both there. And
Right.
that's-
Yes,
you know
yes.
exactly what he said to us.
Right.
And he said, let's make a meeting.
see.
It was within like a couple of days because we had a time limit
Right.
to really deal with this.
Right.
And he said, let's sit down and let's figure out, because the numbers that they were coming with and the
Were very
information
different
we
than
had
ours.
were very different. We didn't have anything that we could agree upon.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt that the meeting was to discuss what the alternatives were. I think they felt like the meeting was to get straight, what information was incorrect, what information was
Right.
correct.
Right.
They were going to teach us something.
Yeah.
They were going to teach us
Yeah.
or use our information
Wow.
for themselves.
What
But
happened is they got taught. Dominic taught them that they were all wrong.
Yes, he
9
did.
people across the table, all his staff, all getting big bucks, big money, and everything else. They were totally wrong. And Dominic went at them and showed them where they were wrong. They were so frustrated. Poor commissioner. I would have fired everybody myself as an executive myself in my own business. They would have been gone. They would have all got pink slips and everything. So they went back to the table, and we ended up having another meeting, right?
We had another meeting,
had
which
another
was
meeting
they were supposed to
with
bring back
all the
information.
information.
Because one of the things that we pointed out to them was by creating this program, they were bypassing people who've been waiting around
Right.
for services
Right.
for years.
Right.
Because it
They were
was
gonna
going to
skip 'em.
It was going to save the state money. Which, hey, look, we understood saving the state money.
know
Just
that.
make sure you take care of everybody, just not the ones that you're saving money on,
Right.
and that's it.
right, and that's it. And this is what brings me to my next question. Okay, we got this far. I think we met with Commissioner Bremby and his staff one more time.
Yep.
Maybe it was 3 times, 4 times. I don't know. Then we all started to come to the meeting of the minds. Maybe like a bipartisan. Everybody's going to try to get together on this. Of course, we had to get hysterical first.
Common ground.
Common ground,
Yeah,
common
yeah,
ground, which I
common ground.
believe in common ground.
Right.
God only knows the American public is wishing for common ground in Washington. But at any rate, we got that far. So now let's hear how we ended up with this ABI commission, why, and where it should be going, because it's going nowhere right now.
Well, the day we had public hearings, was after, and we offered them up several different options. We said, okay, you can leave our program open for this, people that, need to be at the 200%. You can have your other program
Right.
over here.
Right.
And they were, we gave them like a couple of good options that, would have saved face for everybody.
Right.
Which would have been common ground. So we get back to the public hearing, and here is the situation. The public hearing, from the time that they put in their program and it has to go to the legislator, they have 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And in that 30 days, if the legislature does not vote on this,
Mm-hmm.
says we're going to ignore it, it goes in automatically.
And don't they know it?
If they have the public hearing, then they have a vote afterwards. If they vote yes, it goes in. If they vote no, it goes back. But because it's within that 30 days, Department of Social Services doesn't have enough time to fix it and send it back to them, so it would go in automatically.
Oh, timing is everything.
Oh, it is. Because they waited until the 28th day, when
Sure.
the 29th and the 30th day were actually the weekend. So to be able to return again was an impossibility. So we were backed into a corner,
Right.
and we were, kind of like pretty angry that we were all backed into a corner.
Yes, I remember that day.
And Bremby and everybody else, they had to go testify. And we had a lot of people that we essentially lobbied. And we had a lot of people up there, and they were asking questions.
Yes, they were.
And they're I think I could see the sweat falling off of some of their brows because they were holding them. And a lot of people, because we got so many people involved in this, really understood. And then I know I testified. Usually you get 3 minutes to testify, and then you have people who will ask questions. And I think I ended up talking for probably close to 45 minutes.
Because they wanted to hear what you had to say, which was
Right.
wonderful, Dominic. So now how do we how do we get to the committee?
Well, see now,
Because, politicians always
it
form
is.
committees, you know
it's
that.
so the way this kind of went was one of the things that they did was they offered up money in this year's budget to help some of those people that we identified were getting bypassed.
Yes, about
Was-
15 people that were going to be jumped.
Right. So we
Okay, on the program, if I'm right, right?
Yep.
About 15 people would have been jumped. Okay, in other words, they would still be in institutions. They would not be allowed to come out of institutions while DSS were going to put other people in the program. They were going to jump them because there was a lawsuit involved. Nobody understood that there was a lawsuit involved up until even the legislators. None of them really understood. The Supreme Court had already made rulings, so people were operating in the dark. Okay, they didn't understand that there was this other judicial factor that was going on, and they had to do this. It was a mandatory option
include these people?
to the other people, and that they were going to jump. But rather than do that, they put out the money, and they promised no jumping these people. They'd come out, and then.
but it was what I call it was a one-day option.
It was a one-day.
If you pass this today, you can have these.
You
You
can
can have these 15 extra
Right, right.
people on your program.
Yeah.
But we were backed into a no-win situation. And what really was happening in the background of all this stuff is there was, a lot of twisting of arms.
Right.
Yes.
Serious.
And people were going to have to vote on this,
Right.
and it wasn't going to be voted the way that we obviously
Anybody
wanted.
yeah.
And it couldn't be voted because we're talking money, the cost
Yeah.
of money, and the judicial situation. The governor jammed up against the wall and everything. This was all going on in the last minutes as we're trying to do
I was
stuff.
there that
Yeah.
day,
So
yes.
so we had, because Father it's been around a little bit up there. I got talked to, and I was told that this is what the situation was. In the meantime, Dominic's out there negotiating with his senator, who's a wonderful lady that was involved in the situation, and this is getting blown out of the water. So I told him that, look, I was told we're dead meat. We're not, basically, that's how, we're dead meat.
Yeah,
We're
we-
not going to get anything. Okay? And Dominic,
They offered up a
They
number of
offered
different
up,
things. Number one was a total guarantee that even if our
Right.
program fell apart federally, the state would continue to fund
They
it,
would take
so
care
that
of
it
it,
would
right.
it would essentially be the guarantee that says it left our program alone.
Right.
And then the other parts were to have this committee, which would be able to come back
Oversight.
and report and give oversight
monitor.
to see if what we were saying was accurate,
Right.
and that's what happened, that people ended up being stuck in institutions because of the 150%.
Well, that ain't happening. We've into 3 meetings now, and that ain't happening yet.
Well, we can shut down the phones again if we have to.
We will.
But my hope is this, and my direct hope is this. Okay, I don't know. I know what you did down here and the work we did politically across the state.
Yes.
I know what Dominic done in his area. Okay, Street Talk alone put out 160,000 hits they got for the governor,
Right.
in support of the governor. Our unions, 1199, work for him. AFSCME, I'm an AFSCME, was an AFSCME organizer. I'm an AFSCME representative. All our unions, Teamsters, all supported him
Yes.
this time, believing he's going to do what he said he was going to do. Now we're going to hold his feet to the fire.
I absolutely will.
I'm not this year. I'm not playing any games with any of them up there. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, the Republicans actually helped us by running Foley. They shot
yeah,
their
that
own-
was a gift.
Yeah, that was a gift.
Yes.
They shot themselves in the foot. If John McKinney had run, he would have won. Everybody knows it. He would have
Yes.
won, and he had the background, and his father has the background to support the kind of issues I'm on, you're on, all about disabilities, all about homelessness. He could have taken a large part of our people that helped get the governor in. And that's a lot of people.
Yes.
Okay, and the governor got in again, and I hope that he understands we're not playing.
We're
I'm
not playing, no.
Okay, we're not doing, nobody's doing this for money. Okay, none of this is, I don't get any, you don't get any
No.
money, Dominic.
No.
Nobody within our group gets any benefit or cash or favors because of our advocacy for brain injury. And I want to make sure that people know that. Okay, nobody here is
No.
raising money for self. Okay, it's about, we got kids, we got family, we deal with people who need this kind of support, and I for one expect it.
It's a moral issue.
It is a moral
Downright a moral issue of how we take care of each other as human beings. It breaks it right down to that, whether you are religious, you're not religious. It's a moral issue. And I just, as I said, it's hard to be an advocate and hard to be a politician at the same time. But if you're going to take that road in politics the way the governor has and all, and I know Oxford is a small little town. We were a drop in the ocean to help him. The unions helped him and all, and I've marched with my signs with unions. I don't just sit around.
You're knocking on doors.
Yeah, I don't
Dominic
just,
was
yeah,
knocking on doors.
we don't just sit here
No,
jibber jabbering.
No.
We're the people who actually work for the party.
Yeah.
And my mother always taught me the Democrats were the party of the people, the party of Franklin
Caring,
Roosevelt,
right,
the
exactly.
caring people.
Yeah.
Well,
Social contract.
well, I do realize that it would behooved a lot of Republicans to go our way because, it was Malloy in office, but nevertheless, there were some that had their hearts in the right place. But the thing I say is this, and I have told Nancy Wyman this, I become an advocate now, a mother first. I can't worry about the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. I can't
Well,
at this point.
This is a bipartisan issue.
It is.
It doesn't matter what party you belong to,
That's
who
right.
you are, to have a family member to be hurt yourself. Okay, that has no party code on you.
It doesn't,
Okay,
yes.
across the board, the stuff that we work with, the issues that we work with are usually bipartisan issues.
Yes.
I know the issues I work with Dominic and you, okay, are bipartisan issues. They affect any family. They can affect anybody. As we know, a fall and you're hurt, and next thing you go from a normal everyday life to
Takes a second.
slip on the ice.
That's it.
I mean, step out of your car and slip and fall and hit your running board. I mean, people don't. Move a piece of furniture, okay, and you're in trouble.
So now, where do we go from here? We're into the third meeting with the committee.
Well, part of the problem was, I think Centers for Medicaid Services, the federal government, they tried to put this out like it was going to happen on a quick timeline. Nothing happens on a quick timeline in government.
No, it's a slow turning machine.
And so they had, to get this approved. But part of what we originally envisioned with having this committee was that it was not only to just look at this one issue, it was to be able to look at every issue going on within, our program. So, recently we had to go back up because there was a Department of Labor ruling over people like ourselves, independent living skills trainers, who they were saying had to go from being independent contractors to being household employees. And now all of a sudden it's created, a kind of a disaster zone of things that had to change where, I know everybody at this table has had to deal with it. I ended up having to create my own agency just to make sure I, didn't lose certain things.
Well, my son Robert is an employer now. He's the brain injury survivor, and he's an employer. And I was told by someone in the know that the survivor's always been the employer. I didn't buy that.
Not the direct employer, no.
Oh, okay.
But
That's what I thought.
Not the direct, it's like saying that, now I'm on staff with you and you're paying my taxes and everything else.
It depends on who you are. Okay, my relation from the beginning. Okay, Auntie Gail was.
Yes.
Okay, she was the employer. Okay, but what they didn't tell us for many years, what we had two people working, and the reason that I got into doing this end of the business was. No one told us about workman's compensation. No one told her.
We just found about that.
So once we found out about that stuff, because we had people that wanted to work with Auntie that wanted the 40 hours, but were locked into 25.
Right.
Once Auntie got the workman's comp, which cost a fortune at the time when we did it. Nobody explained us how we did it, and she had no money really. So her money came through a grant, and she was able to become the employer. Then we learned about that. So they're doing the model that we've been on now for a lot of years, except independent living trainers were independent contractors. Companions were household employees, and the taxes come out of them. Now they made the independent living trainers household employees, which affects their income, which affects a lot of stuff that nobody really knows.
And we've got about maybe close to 6 or 7 more minutes here at the table. Yeah. But what I will say this was news. We just filled out a ton of paperwork with Allied, who's the fiduciary, making Robert the employer, and now we're trying to figure out to do our best for our RLST, who's wonderful, to get some workman's comp so that Robert can get some more. It's unbelievable. Can you imagine this? But at any rate, where are we now? How should we wrap this up? I'll let you and Father, what do we want our audience to know more than that I'm emotional about this? Excuse me.
Well, I know I had a meeting yesterday with Representative Minor, who's one of the co-chairs.
You had a meeting with Representative Minor?
And I wanted to talk to him about, what the vision was and how we got to this
point.
By
the way, he's co-chair of our committee.
Yes,
he's co-chair.
And so we had a long discussion about how we got to this point, which is what we just talked about now, so that he had a good basic understanding of how this came to be and what the vision was. And the vision is that we be able to have this direct access or direct line to DSS so that we could solve these issues and not feel like we're in the dark. That was the whole entire purpose.
Well, we're still in the dark.
And that's where, like I said, this is a difficult path for people to cross, because all of a sudden, where nobody's really held a lot of these bureaucrats accountable,
Oh, this is
all of a
new.
sudden this is all brand new.
This is all brand new.
And you know, some people on some sides don't want to carry it too far, and other people on other sides want to carry it a lot further over.
It's a scary time.
It is, and that was the whole idea behind this, was that we, instead of having to figure this out from the outside with the little bits and pieces of information that we had, we should be able to have direct access. So what I did for him was I gave him the list that we received from Commissioner Bremby, which described the entire wait list, who was where, what, and how, so that he can go back and say, okay, where are these people? You know, did this one make it out into the community? These are the ones that we were worried about. Which program are they on? And what's going to have to be done is on a frequent basis is that's what the committee's going to have to review. So that's...
Well, I intend to be at the next committee meeting in February. I don't know how many more times the committee's going to meet, but I saw some progress, a little tiny window of progress, which I have to say that Representative Minor showed some leadership there, where I felt a little bit, because when I was watching that third meeting, I saw one on TV and I attended two. I felt like somebody had punched me right in the stomach. My heart sank to see the maneuvering going on and the nothing really happening the way we thought it would. And here we did find common ground. We thought, at least I'm only speaking as a mother. I felt as a mother that we had found some common ground and we were making some progress. But knowing how... We will make progress, because don't be greatly underestimated. Don't underestimate. Politics 101. Don't underestimate your opponent.
The political part is holding their feet to the fire. Okay, we know where we are. We know what they're doing. We know what we're supposed to have done. I know this group is going to keep them and hold their feet to the fire, one way or another. Well, whether we hold our committee group, the oversight committee's feet to the fire that make sure they do their job, or we'll hold our politicians' feet. I'm lucky up in my area, all of our politicians in the general area support what we've done, and we have other meetings coming up with them, with our own senator up there. And so, you know, no, I'm sure that this year we'll be able to continue. And again, we need everybody. We need all your viewers. We need everybody who's concerned with ABI to get involved with us, to find us. They can get you at your show and stuff like that, to be involved, because they need to know what's going on. Our people need to know what's going on, every one of them.
Very true, Father. And being that I'm a neophyte at this, not a neophyte at politics and not a neophyte of being an advocate for my son, because I've done that for 16 years. The thing about it is, maybe more than 16, I'm not sure now, but the thing about what I was going to say, I just lost my train of thought, because I'm a... hey, 67, that's what happens.
We all do it. Don't feel bad.
But going back to the politics of it, I appreciate people that go into politics. I appreciate our politicians. I appreciate that people feel like they want to step in that arena and lead. But I really would hope that they take a good, long, hard look at this and give us the attention that I think we deserve for people that, and as you said, Father, we're not advocating for money or anything like that. We're just advocating to do the right thing. I think we're winding down. Did I leave something out that should be said?
No, I think you did good. We probably don't need another show just to talk about certain parts of the segment. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank
and
you,
I love
Father.
your sister show. I
Yes.
think it's great.
Well-
I'm so glad you're doing this.
Can I say, Father, that thank you for giving me the little boost to try this. Thank you.
That's great.
Dominic,
Kathy.
thank you for all you do and for all the homework you do to help all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're signing off.